Hey, how's it going, guys? It's Nate here. And Skyrim is a big, that's right, we're going back to the basics, game. A land that never seems to run out of places to visit, people to see, and things to do. But with the Elder Scrolls V having been out for nearly 8 years now, one would expect that there's not too much left to learn about this frozen province. You'd think by now every corner of the world should have been explored, every stone unturned, and every hidden secret revealed. Alas, the magic of Skyrim is that such a notion still isn't the case. So sit back and relax as we explore yet another 10 tiny details you may still have missed in The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. Part 44. Starting off, Mirabel Irvine is a Breton mage and master wizard at the College of Winterhold. She effectively serves as the institution's second-in-command, reporting to the Archmage Savos Arin. She's a pretty likable character, plus when you meet her for the first time, she'll be scolding a Thalmor agent rather harshly. And you know what they say about the enemy of my enemy, right? Overall, she's a pretty major character throughout the college's questline, and certainly a welcome ally. Well, it appears Mirabel isn't the first in her family to lead a life dedicated to the study of magic, and in fact has some ancestors that occupied similar positions at other magical schools. As in the Elder Scrolls Online Somerset expansion, which sends us to the Somerset Isles, we can meet a Breton man named Alexis Irvine at the Illumination Academy. Now, we can't interact tremendously with Alexis. In fact, dialogue can't even be entered with him, and he's more or less just there to take up space and add a bit of life. However, the Breton man can usually be found talking to and practicing magic with some chickens. So, not exactly fulfilling duties as prestigious as a master wizard like Mirabel would 1,000 years later, but hey, at least he was starting somewhere. Next on our list, one of the various proverbs we can see while watching Skyrim's various loading screens reads, quote, "The best techniques are passed down by the survivors." Gaiden Shinji, 490 of the First Era. A neat little ancient quote, and it sounds like pretty good advice. I mean, people that survive a long time are probably going to have better things to say than those who don't. However, what you may not have known is that Skyrim's loading screens aren't the first time this quote has made an appearance in the Elder Scrolls games. Indeed, it was actually featured in the intro sequence to the Elder Scrolls I Arena, where it appears immediately after Bethesda's cover graphic every time the game is booted up, making the phrase the first sentence or line of dialogue to ever occur in the Elder Scrolls franchise. Now, Gaiden Shinji, the person this proverb is attributed to, is never met in either Skyrim or Arena. However, the phrase also appears in Oblivion, and in that game, it's stated that Shinji founded the combat arena in Cyrodiil, all the way back in the First Era. Later on, the mysterious character was also added into the Elder Scrolls Online, and given some more of a backstory. A Redguard warrior, he could be assisted in a couple of quests to help him prepare for an upcoming duel, and after you helped him out, he'd say that very proverb. So, while he's no Alduin or Tiber Septim, it's neat to know that the author of this phrase we see so often in Skyrim's loading screens is a surprisingly significant figure. Coming in at number 3, Vanrith Catharian is a Dunmer blacksmith who will start hanging out and acting as a merchant in the Ragged Flagon after the players progressed far enough into the Thieves Guild questline. Despite coming across as a relatively unremarkable character, with no unique dialogue or immediately obvious backstory, Vanrith does indeed have some interesting things worth learning about him. For one, Glover Mallory, a blacksmith in Raven Rock we meet during the Dragonborn DLC, who secretly moved to Solstheim from Riften after leaving the Thieves Guild, will explain to the Dovahkiin that he learned how to temper bone mold from Vanrith.
I had a friend over there, a dark elf named Van Ryth, a very talented armor smith. Spent a lot of time with the guy swapping smithing techniques. Learned a heck of a lot, including how to repair bone mold. After he moved on to greener pastures, I decided to pack up, move out here, and put those lessons to the test. Been here ever since.
Furthermore, in Shroudhearth Barrow, an ancient Nordic ruin near Iverstead, we meet a very unique fellow named Wendelius Catharian, who's likely related to Vanrith considering their shared surname. Wendelius is quite the character, and we've covered him a bit before on this channel, so I won't dwell on him too much. But his story goes that Wendelius was originally a treasure hunter slash thief who created a potion that could transform one's physical appearance to replicate that of a ghost. Unfortunately, after a few too many of those potions, he got stuck like that and went mad, convincing himself he was actually a ghost. Sadly, Wendelius' madness made him hostile to the player, and you'll have to murder him to death. Regardless of the horrible fate we may send his relative to, it's pretty cool that a seemingly boring character like Van Rythe really has a decent amount of background information attached to him. For 4th spot, during the quest, Elder Knowledge, the Dragonborn will be sent to find an Elder Scroll in order to use and harness its power in the struggle against Alduin. Your search will initially lead you to Urag Groshub, the Orcish librarian at the College of Winterhold. When you ask him if he by chance has an Elder Scroll in his possession, he'll say this.
Ah, you think that even if I did have one here, I would let you see it? It would be kept under the highest security. The greatest thief in the world wouldn't be able to lay a finger on it.
While a seemingly straightforward statement, this line by Urag about the world's greatest thief not being able to steal his hypothetical Elder Scrolls is actually a humorous little nod by Bethesda to the Elder Scrolls IV Oblivion's Thieves Guild questline, wherein at the end of it, the player steals an Elder Scroll and becomes the new Grey Fox and leader of the faction, effectively becoming the world's greatest thief. So, some nifty little irony there by the developers. Halfway through at number 5, Rogatus Salvius is an elderly farmer who runs the Salvius farm, just outside of Markarth, with his wife Vigdis. He's a relatively minor character, but when approached, he may say the following.
Next thing you know, there'll be some kind of damn blight and undead will walk the land.
This is most likely a reference to the blight faced in the Elder Scrolls III Morrowind. In that game, the Blight was a strange weather-like phenomenon where ash storms would carry a mysterious disease that radically increased one's aggressiveness and effectiveness in combat, almost creating OP zombies. The Blight was created by the main antagonist of the title, Dagoth and thankfully, we ultimately got to defeat him in the main questline. So, Rogatus' fears of a second Blight are pretty unwarranted. I hope. 6th. Chillrend is a unique glass sword that can be obtained underneath Mercer Frey's home in his treasure room during the Thieves Guild quest, The Pursuit. Not much backstory is offered on this blade by the game. In fact, none is. We can simply happen upon it within a locked display case and steal it if we so choose. There's no dialogue or objectives related to the sword or really anything to that effect. Chillrend is an especially wonderful weapon to have though, as not only does it boast a special icy effect, but also offers a base damage of 15, some additional frost damage, and a chance to paralyze enemies, making it among the best items to get your hands on in the early to mid game. Well, oddly enough, Skyrim isn't the first title to give players the opportunity to dabble with this precious sword. As in Oblivion, a man named Valus Odil would give the hero of Kvatch a short quest to go clear his farm out from some pillaging goblins. By the time he'd ask you to do so, both of his sons had already left to go fight the goblins, so you'd have to meet them there. Eventually the player would get to the farm, find the sons very much losing the battle, save them, clear out the farm, and report back to Valus to complete the quest. Assuming you were able to save the farm without letting any of the old man's sons die, he'd reward you with his personal blade, which was, you guessed it, none other than Chillrend. How this sword would eventually make its way into the slimy hands of Mercer Frey is a mystery. But at least you can ensure that she finds a better home. Next, speaking of the Thieves Guild, after completing their mission, Scoundrel's Folly, in which the player tracks down an old Argonian associate of the faction and gets some pretty substantial information out of him, Vekel the Man, the Ragged Flagon's operator, may say the following phrase.
Glad to hear Galamai got what he deserved. That lizard owes me big for a bad shipment of Shadow Banish wine he tried to pass off on me.
For those unaware, Shadow Banish wine was a rare and expensive beverage featured in Oblivion that gave the consumer night vision, in exchange for a penalty to their agility and intelligence. According to a wine enthusiast we could meet at an inn, Shadow Banish was originally created by an alchemist, hoping to improve the eyesight of Imperial Legion soldiers protecting frontier forts at night, but it quickly grew popular with more ordinary consumers. The drink obviously isn't available in the Elder Scrolls V, but it's funny to know that Bethesda still didn't forget about it. Coming in at number 8, Namir Ishrat is a mushroom-like fungal ingredient that can be found in various caves and other dark places across Skyrim. It's most useful in poisons, thanks to its damage magicka and fear effects. However, can also be used in effective potions as well. The appearance of Namir Ishrat isn't anything special. It looks like you would expect a fungus to. Plant-like, small, somewhat colorful, nothing really extraordinary. However, if the Dragonborn travels to Blackreach, there's a single patch of Namir Ishrat one can find, that, for whatever reason, is several times larger in physical size than what we're usually used to. When harvested, you'll be given a normal amount of the fungus, so nothing remarkable there. But how the heck did this happen? Did someone at Bethesda press the wrong button and accidentally multiply the scale of the object by 10 times? Seems like a pretty weird error to make. Could there be more intentional lore reasons behind this? Maybe something about the nature of Blackreach as a location is causing gigantism to occur amongst certain organisms. Accidental bug or purposeful decision, the truth of why this set of ingredients is so large is one only the mushrooms themselves may know. And the mushrooms aren't talking. Getting close to the end here at number 9, Erikr and Gisli are two brother and sister living in the City of Solitude. Erikr is by far and away the more prominent of the two siblings, as he controls vast sums of wealth and political power, and is even thane to the Hold's Jarl Elisif the Fair. Gisli more or less just helps her brother out with day-to-day affairs, though when spoken to, does seem a bit annoyed with her comparable obscurity. I digress. The two's names, Erikr and Gisli, seem to be based off of an old Icelandic tale about three brothers, named Erikr, Gisli, and Helgi. Now, in Skyrim, Erikr and Gisli don't have a third sibling. The wiki suggests that it's possible Bethesda may have intended for there to be a third brother or sister named Helgi, but I haven't found anything to corroborate that theory. And finally, last on our list, we journey to Markarth, capital of the Reach. Here at the west end of the city, above Understone Keep, is the Wizard's Balcony, a huge porch-like area that watches over the settlement. Well, on its south end, the balcony sort of breaks off next to a waterfall. If you're feeling a little bit lucky and want to take a leap of faith, you're welcome to. If you choose to do so, you'll find that on the sea floor of the waterbed you end up in will be a couple of human skeletons, suggesting a few people before you had similar ideas, but weren't quite as successful in their execution. So consider yourself fortunate, lest you end up like one of these Ezio's. And on that note, we are going to wrap up our 44th episode of 10 Tiny Details You May Have Missed in the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. Thanks for stopping by, everybody. Which of the facts we dove into today did you find to be the most interesting or fascinating? And what Easter eggs or tiny details do you know of that I haven't covered in this series yet? Leave a comment down below. As always, like ratings are very much appreciated. Again, thanks for watching, and I hope to catch you all in my next video. Peace out, everyone.